It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Ha, it's Feedback Friday. And this is not the Feedback Friday I thought I would be making, because Ashley Johnson fans review bombed the Wellness Wednesday video with a lot of projection. But yes, fans, I believe you sincerely care about the safety and dignity of women when you hate bomb a woman's channel. Totally believable right there. The projection on these things. She's blocking every critical comment. I don't censor comments. So, you know, either you used a bunch of words that YouTube automatically flags, or it was somehow flagged as spam. Either way, you're wrong. And this idea, doesn't videos like this put her in greater danger? As I said off the top of the video, the story broke containment. When it makes USA Today, my fairly small channel is not going to make a dent. I am in Canada. If a guy is going to violate a restraining order over my video, this isn't an anonymous threat, people. This is a known guy who's already on police radar. This just feels like calling attention to yourself. And this reminds me of how toxic Last of Us fandom is. And we're going to get to that. Let me do the help support this channel. All right, where is it? There we go. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for somebody who could use it but can't afford it. Ko-fi.com/LeannaK. Now again, Ashley Johnson herself is a lovely person. Okay. That does not mean the fans of a particular franchise are lovely people. And this is the problem with certain fandoms in games. They don't just support the stuff they like. They attack people who commit some thought crime. It's weird because I've had brief run-ins with the Bloodborne maniacs and reminder of the Last of Us shit in the same week. And it's two completely different kinds of nuts. Like, Bloodborne, the particular... I'm a From Software fan, okay? There's that. Then there's the nut bars who will cut you over 60 frames per second. And daring to say that Bloodborne is not a game that whose combat depends on timing. It looks perfectly fine and is totally playable on PS5. It is so freaking weird that people are like, no PS5, no PS5. I downloaded Bloodborne for my PS5. I played it on my PS5. It is the PS4 version, yes, but it runs better on the PS5. All of these people who insist that it's still laggy and all that stuff and the frame rate takes a crap have clearly not tried it on the PS5. I went back and replayed it after I played Elden Ring. So within the last few months, it runs perfectly fine. Bloodborne still looks better than Elden Ring. Calm yourselves. And this is why I don't do much gaming content anymore. Because what's the point? All it does is bring in these randos that find something off the algorithm or some message board and they shit up the comments section. And so other people who are playing nice and participating in good faith don't get seen. And that is bullshit. And I take personal offense at people who claim to be for women's safety and protection and then attack women. This legit pisses me off because there are legitimate people working every single day to try to get women, trans and cis women alike, who have had the shit end of the stick in life, try to get them their dignity and some sense of stability back. But those aren't the people, again, that get seen. The people that get seen are people like this. Protect the women! Get her! Like, it's nonsense. It is nonsense. It is not so. Like, that is not the way to do it. It sucks that someone leaked some information about this. And they're part of the crazy conspiracy theories in the comments. People keep saying it's TMZ that leaked the Ashley Johnson stuff. They went and they got the court information to get it. TMZ didn't break this story. Why would TMZ give it to some website, The Blast, or something? They broke this story. This is one of those things that fell into somebody's lap. Either someone close to one or both parties leaked the information, or somebody just happened to be at court when it was filed and overheard it something. You can't get documents like this that fast via a FOIA request. As I said in the first video, the record of the protective order is public. Everything else is not, because obviously it contains addresses and other personal details, and it defeats the purpose of protective orders if any lunatic can find out where the complainant lives. Right? The world is not yet that crazy. And so what drives these grandstanders who take a perfectly lovely person like Ashley Johnson and attack somebody else in her name? Well, it's the same thing that drives people to harass Laura Bailey because she happened to voice Abby. Didn't write the character, didn't conceive of the character, didn't decide what the character did. Just took work. That's it. She's not to blame for the decisions involving that character. But people don't think. And there is a big difference between acting like a good person or performing being a good person and actually being a good person. And being a good person means when shit goes down, you don't spread it around. When there is a story that is uncomfortable, but is also newsworthy and is very important to contextualize for people when there's already people. The fact that they would insist Ashley Johnson was lying for attention, anybody, is just, that's not who she is from what I understand. I've never personally met her, but I've heard absolutely glowing things about her from other people. But, you know, we do live in a world where every person of any gender who decides to come forward gets called a liar by somebody. And that's not fair. And so I like to take stories like this, because there have been others where I said, no, this is bullshit, I don't buy it for a second. I think it's very important to say when I find a story to be believable. because that's treating women like humans. And then we get into the whole thing of, the 1 in 4 men that experience some kind of sexual abuse in their life too. Yeah, I talked about that before. And now so many feel silenced by the whole thing. But then there's the really thorny issue of overall bullying. And why that, even the whole word bullying, right? It's not what it is anymore. Yes, somebody can be a bully, but that phenomenon that leaves people with profound psychological abuse well into adulthood, like profound trauma, I call it social abuse. Because there may be no actual physical violence involved. It's intimidation, it's the threats of violence, it's rumors, it's lying about someone. What Ashley Johnson's so-called fans did to me over Wednesday's video. That is social abuse. The things they said about me were not true. The accusations they claimed about me were not true. Claiming I was just making money off of it. Not true. That you know nothing about how little you make on YouTube advertising. I've been experimenting with mid-rolls on videos and the improvements are negligible. I'm not convinced it's worth it. I have not seen an uptick. You make peanuts off the actual YouTube ads. It's horseshit. It's an extra game a month. That's pretty much it. But, it's one thing to disagree with the choice to cover the story. It's another thing to make shit up about intentions, especially since I addressed it off the top of the video. That is bullying. It is. And a lot of people think they bully for good reasons. That idea of punching up that you guys know from 2014, I am not a fan of. Because punching up is comparative and subjective. And what if you're wrong? That's the problem. What if you're wrong? What if you're just picking on someone on the worst day of their life? And I expect these people don't care because it's just mean girls swarming. It's Swifties changing the name plaque on the shit. And again, I like some of Taylor Swift's music, not as much as Song does, but I like some of Taylor Swift's music. But some of her fans, whoa. And ironically, the first exposure I had to scary, terrible people was fans of boy bands when I worked at Much Music back in the day. So that's why when the whole gamers are horrible, gamers are misogynists and harassers, you may remember I said, yeah, you haven't had to deal with teen girl boy band fans. They are just as bad. But for some reason, the world doesn't treat the evil that teen girls are capable of as on par with menacing men. And the truth is, on the internet, people can't physically hurt you. It is all words. It is all that emotional and spiritual pain. And a 15-year-old girl can inflict as much damage in that way, especially when there's a big pack of them, as a guy. In fact, women can be more savage in this regard because there's no limiters. There's nobody checking their behavior in that regard. And I do think We have to get collectively better at that. But that's nonsense. It's not based on anything except gender norms and gender expectations. And that's why I talk about this stuff, because I mean, I don't know if anybody's been following this stuff. I don't know if you know who Lizzie Finnegan is, but her daughter's being really badly bullied at school. And I think of this when I see people behaving like this on the internet. This shit's inexcusable. And it doesn't matter who does it. And, you know, I fight with profoundly transphobic people on the regular. I got the whole Jews killed Jesus thing thrown in my face this week, and the person didn't understand why that's disrespectful. There's a lot of stuff people aren't there yet on. And day's not over, but today was the first time in 6 days I was not called a pedo or a groomer once. And that really, really bothers me. Not for the reasons you think. Because it ain't about me. My feelings aren't hurt. Fuck off. It bothers me because the public understanding of what grooming is shifting to the point that we're gonna get less good at recognizing it. And, you know, I've had friends who got groomed by cults. People can groom an adult for abuse. Obviously, what they're talking about is grooming children, right? It's softening a person up. It's slow. It doesn't start with, hey, here's a sex ed book we're going to make available to the whole class. It's starting with someone's interests. And this is one of the reasons I don't like people that are still stigmatizing interests of any kind. Because it makes vulnerable people more likely to fall prey. I mean, this is how white supremacists recruit too, right? They get on to online communities where young white men tend to frequent, and they look for the lonely, angry guys. You know, the manosphere hasn't picked up. And they validate what they like in music. They validate what they like in video games. And then they start encouraging them to say more and more racist stuff. And what that does is they start getting a negative reaction to that. People start rejecting them. And then it's, you see, they don't care about you. We care about you. We got your back, man. And so it gets more extreme. And they get more pushed away from everything else. And I've had to, it's been incredibly difficult when, you know, people I know this has happened to, because I know that you have to keep dialogue open and communication channels open. But the realities of the world are that I can't have people with certain online activity connected to me in any sort of official capacity. So, you know, moderation or anything involving the game or anything involving, you know, It's Not Therapy. And that's hard because it means I have to reject a person in a way when I know that's not best practice for de-radicalizing, but I got other people to think about. And that's really hard. It's really torn. And this is the challenge that people who actually care about people go through, because kids are not getting the mentoring from non-parental adults that they'd otherwise be getting. And that's part of the reason kids are falling more and more behind, even academically. Because if you're too stressed out, if you're anxiety ridden, if you're depressed, then you're not going to do as well in school. You're not going to learn as well, right? But also, increasingly, this legislation of mandatory reporting to parents when kids are, kids express certain things like, I might be gay, I might be trans, I might be non-binary, that risks inflaming abuse that's going on in the home. Because, and I put this up on Twitter this week, no one talks to my kid about blank without my permission is a potential red flag that parent is abusive. My father used to flip out if people let us watch Mr. Rogers because he thought it was poisoning our minds. Mr. Rogers, my biological father, not my stepfather, who I love to death. Abusive parents need control. They're the ones that are storming into the school and go, you don't talk to my kid without my permission. And laws are now forcing schools to throw kids back into that abusive home and giving the parent more ammunition to abuse the kid so that they can try to, unsuccessfully turn them into perfect carbon copies of them. Kids need to be able to, screened and certified, obviously. There has to be some oversight. Records should be kept of, who talked to the kid when. Just because, yes, there has to be oversight. But one of the worst problems with dealing with adolescent issues is that by the time kids are in the 8th grade, they think involving adults just makes things like bullying and other drama worse, because adults don't get it. It's going to blow up. It's going to be really embarrassing. It's not going to solve the problem. It's only going to get, it's going to get the bullies in trouble without making the bullies stop. And so the bullies are just going to go and pick on the kid harder because they talked. Or worse, just nothing's done. And the kid learns to not trust the system. And unfortunately, in a lot of these cases, the only thing a parent can really do is pull the kid from the school. And that's a whole other kind of upheaval, because just when the kid needs a supportive circle, their friend group dwindles, because, let's face it, a lot of the reason people are friends is they just go to the same school. And this is a big knot. And we can whack-a-mole on the various issues, domestic abuse, child abuse, transphobia, harassment, this, that. Or we can do a catch-all thing, control what we can control. I say that's not therapy. Healthy goals are based on things you can control. What are the shitty things about the manosphere, going back to Monday's video? is that it has made personal accountability impersonal and unaccountable. Because personal accountability means really challenging yourself regarding action and inaction. Personal accountability means I am going to do something with predictable consequences. I am not going to piss and moan about it when those predictable consequences arise. I'm going to take the punishment that I expected and go, yep, I did it. I knew what was coming. Now, I miscalculated this week because I thought the thing that was going to really piss people off was the manosphere one. But I've been, it's that sort of thing of, I need more algorithm-friendly titles. And it only took 1 week to go, this is why I don't do more algorithm-friendly titles. Because I want a smaller community where people talk and it's high-quality comments and people feel seen and heard. And I can't do that when a bunch of angry Tumblerinas are shitting up the comment section. But I really thought, I did catch some shit on Monday's video. A guy called me a lesbian groomer. Like, but big deal. Like, I expected that. Do I want to continue putting up with that? I don't know. I tried it. But getting fucking dogpiled and down and like hate bombed because I covered a story that was already in the mainstream news. That one I missed because I forgot how toxic The Last of Us fandom is. And so, yeah, that one I'm kind of like, what the fuck? Because it makes no sense, right? The manosphere thing, I knew I was going to get guys who are angry and bitter and will use any opportunity to take a crack at an uppity, mouthy woman. Not that all manosphere types hate women, just let's face it, there is that contingent. And so, okay, no big deal. Yep, there it is. I find the whole overuse of groomer disgusting for reasons but predictable. The interesting thing about people accusing me of grandstanding off something like the Ashley Johnson story, when it's clear from the context of that video that this is, let's break it down, let's talk about these things, because it doesn't just happen to her. They're grandstanding by doing that. And those are narcissistic people. Narcissists aren't going to change. But this is why I don't do the gaming stuff so much anymore, is that I just don't care enough about like a Bloodborne remake to get called names over 60 frames per second. It's just not a good use of my energy. If I could be able to talk about games and have a healthy back and forth and, be challenged in a way that doesn't get cheap and personal so fast, I would do it in a second. That's what's nice about Twitch. But on YouTube and even Twitter, like the reaction isn't proportional to what the topic's about. And I mean, this is, the PlayStation Showcase Alan Wake 2 trailer. Those of you who have been following me for any period of time know I love Alan Wake. Alan Wake was my I want this sequel that might never have happened. And it is built up. They made American Nightmare instead of a full sequel because Microsoft wouldn't give them enough money. And then they made the Control DLC to, I guess, test remaining interest in the franchise. Obviously, it was good enough to have a trailer now. And the fact that it's not just an Alan Wake 2 trailer, but Sam Lake is like right freaking there. Like, this is my kind of fan service game. For people who know, Sam Lake is like the Remedy guy, Max Payne as well, and sort of make him it looks like one of the two playable characters. That's just, it's for Max Payne fans, classic. It's for Alan Wake fans. This is a Remedy. Thank you for staying with us through all our tribulations with, Quantum Break and I mean, Control did well for them, but, obviously they really wanted to make this game. And it looks good. I really suggest that people, use a Game Pass or something like that to download the original Alan Wake. I love that game. And people shit on the mechanics at the time because the idea he was this noodly armed author, he wasn't supposed to feel powerful. So he wasn't a great shot and you had to freeze them with the flashlight, and then there was limited ammo. It was immersing in the character. It was not supposed to feel like a trained marksman. And people complained back in was that the Xbox 360? Yeah. Oh, the combat's so clunky. Like, yes, deliberately. It's a narrative survival horror game, people. Like, fuck. That was when I was a very frustrated games journalist because of shit like this. And so for it to be back and to finally be getting it makes me happy. And happy is precious. And I would love to be able to share the happy. I'll be streaming the fuck out of the game. Like, for sure. But it is not worth it to me to have assholes that don't know me and are just saying things about me that are just not true. They do not get access to shit up my happy. And, it was the whole Last of Us 2 bullshit. Like, I was done even before the Hogwarts Legacy nonsense. Last of Us 2, I was fucking done. That was just so fucking stupid. It doesn't help women. It doesn't help trans people. It doesn't help everybody. It's just people being mean to each other because they fucking can. And a lot of us got into games, got into the gaming communities to get the fuck away from that shit. And that's why people get so pissed when it follows them. I don't expect the people that did that on the Ashley Johnson video will care what I think, because they've already dehumanized me. They've already come up with the permission structure to make me a cheap and easy target that they can just beat on and make shit up about. They have depersonalized and dehumanized me. And next week, they will do it to somebody else. And then they will do it to somebody else because they are that type of person. And they might not be that person on their own. But in that particular group, they become that. If anybody else who sincerely cares about games has an idea for how we can share what we like about games and what we think is cool and respectful criticism of games, I'm open. to suggestions. Because, I mean, oh my God, the fact that I can't even say, you know, Bloodborne still holds up really well. It still looks better than Elden Ring, and it plays smoother on the PS5 without going, no, remake, you're not a fan, you don't know, I beat this, I did this. Fuck off. Fuck off. I was saying the game is good for fuck's sakes. I mean, I did have issues with the performance of that game at launch. It does play better on the PS5. Fuck off with your misery. Just, you're not doing anything good. And you're not doing anything useful. Because you care, you know, the haters care more about me, and they don't even know me, than I care about their nonsense. I care about the vulnerable people that they are making harder to help. So, on that, I will leave it there. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Away from the madness of the noise. Coffee.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.